Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mac and Jack Show here on National Streaming Sports Roku channel, and we're also simulcasting on my Facebook pages, TGI Sports Facebook pages, and we're also on YouTube, the National Streaming Sports feed there. Mac is out today. We wish him well. Hopefully he's doing better today, and we'll have some more news on that going forward. We wish him the best, but I'll be filling in today, and we'll get into some great topics. And I'll be doing it as Mac always does on Fridays with Hall of Fame boxing writer Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. I don't know you're going to do it like Mac. I'm curious what you're going to lead in with. I know what Mac would lead in today with immediately. The new Women's Lacrosse League that's starting. I think Mac would have led off with that.
Well,
which is a good thing, by the way.
I think the cricket championships in Australia are also going big this summer, so we may start there. But no, we are not going to do that. We're going to get into a lot of stuff, but we're going to start today with the Mike Tyson. Now I forgot the guy's first name. What's Paul?
Jake Paul. I'm not sure, Keith. Should you say Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight? Should you say Mike Tyson, Jake Paul exhibition? So we're going to go in between the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul show. Because even boxing people, hardcore boxing people don't know the deal. I mean, I kind of think it's going to be a real fight, but I'm not sure. If it's a real fight, why is a guy close to 60 years old being sanctioned and being allowed to fight? And the thing is, the late money's coming in on Tyson. The late money is coming in on him. All these bets that are coming in.
You can't even bet them in New York State. They yesterday made a ruling that you could not bet them in New York State because they are not following traditional boxing rules with the 2-minute rounds and the gloves being 14 ounces instead of what were they normally 10.
Well, the 8 2-minute rounds. I mean, women fight 2-minute rounds. So they made an accommodation for the men. They made an accommodation because of Tyson's age. You know, certain amateurs and novice divisions have had 2-minute rounds too. So it's not completely uncommon. I mean, and it's not a championship fight. So what's not being sanctioned? That's what I don't really get. I mean, a regular championship fight would be 12 3-minute rounds, but it's not it's kind of like an exhibition type real fight. We're not sure. It's a takeoff of the movie Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
People want sure exhibition fight, this and that. I'm suspicious as to the legitimacy because Jake Paul is one of the most abrasive athletes, and he's entitled to be called an athlete, even though people are going to call him a YouTuber, because when you stick with boxing for a few years the way he has, you're entitled to be called an athlete. He's paid his dues in that respect. Okay. And he's not being abrasive. He's not being as nasty. It's like he likes Mike Tyson a lot. Mike Tyson seems to like him. when they had the weigh-in yesterday and Tyson slapped him in the face, you kind of wonder, did Jake Paul know it was coming or what?
Yeah. I got to ask you, because, you being into the boxing world a lot more than I am, as this topic has come up, and it's been going on for months because the fight was supposed to happen, I don't know, a couple months ago, wasn't it originally?
Yeah.
So it's been on these shows that I guest on. I don't talk about a lot of my show a little bit. We will a little bit today. But whether you think, and I talked to a lot of people who think Tyson's going to win this fight. He looks in great shape for a 58-year-old man. He just turned 58, I believe, here the last couple of weeks. Regardless what you think the outcome of the fight could be, is it responsible to give a 58-year-old man a license to box at all?
No, absolutely not, especially considering Tyson's last legitimate fight was over 20 years ago, and he retired because he was way past his peak then.
Yeah.
So any person of any age can get in shape and make their body look better, okay? I mean, he trains hard, Tyson. I give him a lot of credit. He put in the time, and he looks good physically for a guy his age. And he looks good in those film clips, because those film clips are deceiving, Keith. Those are short bursts.
15 seconds.
All they are. Listen, we can bring a quarter who's close to 60 years old, a retired quarterback who was once good. I'll throw a name at you. He's in a little trouble now. Jay Cutler. We can have Jay Cutler take some passes, some hikes from the shotgun, and throw the ball 40, 50 yards and hit a receiver on the go. And we're going to say, oh, he looks good, like he's ready to play again. There's a major difference between game conditions and just doing that.
Now, in Tyson's prime, which was, again, 30 plus years ago, he could, that 15-second flurry would be enough to knock a guy out. I mean, is that even possible tonight? Even possible?
It's possible, I suppose. The X factor is if Jake Paul is completely overrated. Hey, how you doing? To Linda McGrath, we thank you, Matt, all the time up best. Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thank you, comment that he'll get us through the openings.
Right. But the thing, yeah, of course, maybe Tyson can land early in something. It's possible. You can't discount it. But Jake Paul has been in with basically good mixed martial artists who he's beaten. They've had to adjust and fight in a boxing style. Yet, they can fight, mixed martial artists. They're not boxers, but they can punch, they can wrestle on the inside. They can do this, they can do that. And he's beaten credible non-boxers. Okay, put it that way. But the bottom line is, when you get to be Tyson's age, come on. Any athlete, why? Think of another sport, Keith, in football. Can anyone outside of maybe a field goal kicker, and even then it's doubtful, perform on a high level in the NFL? Or let me go another way, Keith. Jake Paul's not that good. Take a superstar of the NFL in the past and let him play in the USFL today. Is he really going to be good in the USFL today if he's close to 60 years old?
No. Remember I was talking about Jim Brown coming back when Franco Harris was going to break his record? He didn't like the way Franco ran out of bounds all the time, and he was going to come. If Franco broke his record, he was coming back. He was close to 50. He's 50, I think, at the time, 49. He would never have come back. That was all bluster, and if he did, he would have got hurt.
Well, we heard about Wilt Chamberlain too, and it's close to 60. Wilt can still play the game. Yeah. And Wilt would say, if I was playing today in my prime, I'd average 70 points a game. He was dreaming 70 points a game, completely absurd.
So is Mike Tyson doing this? We were talking about the purses. Jake Paul's is, we don't know, but he's intimated it's $40 million for him. He said yesterday he was there to make $40 million and knock out a legend. I did see that Tyson looks like he's guaranteed around $20 million for this fight. Is Mike Tyson?
Whoever's representing Mike Tyson's a fool. Okay, as far as business dealings go, and the people representing him, he brings a lot more to the table than Jake Paul. Jake Paul brings an awful lot. The YouTube crowd, it's great. He brings a lot. I'm not underestimating Jake Paul, but compared to Mike Tyson, what is the interest in tonight's show? I have Netflix. It's on Netflix. I'm against it, but I'm going to be watching it because it comes under the category of entertainment to me, but I shouldn't be entertained by this. I have some guilt feelings about it. Keith, not only that, I'm having company come over to watch it who did never come over normally. So this is I don't know. I'm watching it and criticize me, put me down.
No,
I kind of deserve it.
No, I'll watch it because it's train wreck TV. I don't know what I'm watching for, but I'm not watching to watch boxing probably. I'm watching to see how awfully this actually goes. And I'm not sure. Will it be entertaining? Do you think it'll be entertaining? Or you just
it is on the level completely 100% on the level, Jake Paul stops Mike Tyson, I think, in 4 rounds or so. If it's completely on the level, okay? Does Tyson have a chance to clip Jake Paul in the beginning of the fight? If Tyson goes all out, throws everything he has at Jake Paul in the first 30 seconds, yeah, maybe he catches him and knocks him down. You know, you never know. But it's just not going to be there. I mean, you know, at his age, and the danger of Tyson getting hit, that's the thing about it, too. And, you know, we talk about any older athlete. Let's talk baseball. The greatest hitters, when they're close to 60 years old, Ted Williams may be the greatest pure hitter in the history of baseball. When he was 58, I mean, is he really going to be hitting Mariano Rivera's cutter, being able to handle a 100-mile-per-hour fastball where he may have been able to do it in his prime? You know, you lose something. You lose a lot.
Danny brings up a great point here. Is this on the level of Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs? That's kind of, I feel, is that kind of match. It's just a made for TV, you know, let's get some ratings. Let me get some new subscribers. I don't even know that they're going to fill up AT&T Stadium. It holds 80,000 people. Are they going to fill that place up?
Yeah, Bobby Riggs is 52 years old.
At the time?
He's 6 years, right. He was 6 years younger than Tyson. It might seem to people, and I'm 52, 58, it's the same thing. 6 years is significant at that age. Very significant. And this is tennis. Bobby Riggs, let me make something clear. Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs because Bobby Riggs was old. If Bobby Riggs, instead of being 52, was 28, he absolutely beats Billie Jean King. I mean, let's make that clear, okay? Yeah. But listen, it was compelling TV, but Bobby Riggs wasn't going to get physically hurt in the fight. That's what the worry is with Tyson. If you listen to Tyson now, Keith, he seems to, I won't say mumble his words, but there's something that's kind of like a little off. You know, I'm working on a book now on Michael Spinks. I'm his biographer, okay? I've been meeting with Michael Spinks on a regular basis.
One of my favorite fighters, by the way.
Michael Spinks. I didn't know that. That's cool. That's really cool. And Michael Spinks is telling me, I think Tyson's going to do it. You know, like these guys live in a nostalgia thing. You know, a lot of the guys during that generation are into nostalgia.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's nostalgia. I want to see Tyson KO Paul because I'll go crazy. You know, it takes us back to a time we were younger, like a happy time watching him. But wouldn't it be great if Tyson KOs Paul and they talk about him fighting the Alexander Usyk Tyson Fury winner for the real heavyweight championship? You know the excitement that's going to cause. If Tyson blitzes Paul, there will be so many happy people, Keith.
Listen, wasn't Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago just an exhibition match as well? So we know how that worked out. I know it was a movie, but you know.
But this isn't called an exhibition. Well, Mason Dixon and Rocky Balboa was called an exhibition. They thought it was real exhibition, this and that. And we just don't know for sure. I'm suspicious because of Jake Paul's behavior, as I said. Jake Paul is an abrasive guy.
Yeah.
And he has held back. It seems like he respects and looks up to Mike Tyson too much to go overboard.
You know, is this a money-making proposition for anybody but the fighters? Are they filling up an 80,000 seat stadium? And then I just saw the prices of the tickets. They go as high as $25,000. Are people paying? I mean, people got stupid money. But are people going to pay that kind of money to go see this fight?
Well, they're doing something that's never been done before. They're having like these little box, a luxurious thing that's so close to the ring.
Yeah.
Where people are paying crazy money to see it kind of like a little bit truly up close. And
this ticket's
people got crazy money. What does Super Bowl tickets go for?
Wow.
I mean, what, $7,000-$8,000? To get in now?
I don't think that's a fair comparison to Super Bowl and this fight, though. Jeez, good grief.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Super Bowl and the cheap seats I'm talking about to just get in now. I mean, is it really affordable?
By the way, isn't there? I mean, there's a huge undercard for this thing. Is Tyson going to be able to stay awake till the fight? I mean, what time's this fight going to happen?
Well, it comes on Netflix at 8 o'clock. There's a very good females fight, a rematch, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. As far as women's boxing goes, that's the best fight that could be made in women's boxing today. So kudos for that. Yeah. And there's some talent. There's Bruce Carrington in New York fighting the lighter weights, a lot of potential. Mario Barrios is fighting Abel Ramos, a decent fight for, WBC welterweight belt. And so, not a bad undercard, especially the women's fight is outstanding. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. And then, you want to know something? Paul and Tyson is the equivalent of like a Super Bowl party. People are going to come over. They're going to hang out their friend's house. It's something to do. Even the Super Bowls now. These Super Bowl parties at people's homes. I went to one of those once at my sister's house.
Yeah.
And it was the last time I ever went. She had a lot of people there. Maybe 5 of them even knew about football. I sneak into another room to watch TV. Before I know it, a few other people in the room. And one woman asked me what a punt is. When someone is punting, what's a punt? And I said to her, Keith, I mean, I tried to have more patience. I said, look, if this was a regular season game, I'd explain it to you, but not in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to start explaining the rules of the game,
Well,
and I told my sister I'm never coming back again. These people are jamming the place, couldn't care less about the game, but they look at the TV.
It's too funny. As I watch it, I see 6 fights on the undercard. I'm starting to wonder if I won't be watching this fight tomorrow morning when I get up because.
Let me tell you the problem with boxing: the fights end too late. They come on too late. Yeah. It is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Well, by the time the main event might come on about 11:30, 12 at night, it's absurd.
I can't.
I was out last night. I got to take a nap. I might be snoozing, but at least I'll be on my own couch and I'll. Yeah.
Jack, real quick before we move on, give me I'm going to say, I think this probably ends in a draw is what's going to happen because it's some stupid thing. Unless, and Mike Tyson, to me, his only chance to win this fight is that early flurry before he wears down. He's 58 years old. If he's got that quick flurry in him and he can catch Jake Paul, maybe he knocks him out really quickly. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a silly looking draw. That's what I think.
I just wanted to think of one thing, Keith. If Tyson knocks Paul out quickly and looks sensational, think of all the older athletes in all the other sports who are going to dust themselves off and might actually come back. Not just in boxing, You might get some football players. I mean, we're going to hear news about Antonio Brown wanting to try Terrell Owens. He's a bad example. Well, if Tyson can do it, I can do it.
Well, hopefully, if it happens in boxing, we're going to end up having somebody die in a ring eventually, and that's not going to be a good thing. So then Chris talked kind of about what you're just talking about, what's this going to lead to next. So, Jack, you were Danny thinks it'll be a good time here in California, because you got a 3. You'll get the fight at 9:00, Danny. That's
yeah, exactly. You get it at a viable time,
right? Jack, before we move on from boxing and talk about some football, make Mac happy. Listen, you were at a gala for the Boxing Hall of Fame last night. Tell us about
New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So unfortunately, I was only able to go to my phone to keep up with the Eagle Commander game, which I felt terrible having to miss because it was a heck of a matchup going in.
What you were there to do the presentation for a friend of yours, you said?
Right, a friend of mine, Don Majeski. He's been an international agent since he was a teenager. He was a boy wonder. His mother worked for the airline so she could fly him all over. And he was even in Zaire for the Ali Foreman fight, covering it. That gives you an idea how far back he is. And not many people are around who had the Ali Foreman fight because it was in Zaire. So I presented to him last night. Henry Haskell, the president of the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, puts on a great function. And they always have it on a Thursday night. So I know I'm going to miss at least one NFL, primetime Thursday night game each year. And that was it.
I said I was going to leave boxing, but I got to leave you with this. The best boxing documentary I've ever watched is When We Were Kings, about that fight in Zaire. It's just such a great documentary.
Yeah.
So last night in the NFL, hyped match, the Redskins, team formerly known as the Redskins, played the Eagles last night in Philadelphia. Philadelphia on a 6-game winning streak. Washington kind of controlled this game early, but it was ugly. I know you didn't see it, but the Eagles scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to pull away and win 26-18. But it just felt like both of these teams were, I don't know if it's a Thursday night thing and these teams are, the short weeks really affect them that much, but both teams struggled, I thought, with a lot of aspects of the game. It wasn't pretty to watch. The Eagles win their 7th in a row. The Commanders fall to 7-4. Eagles now in control of the East. I know you didn't get a chance to watch this, but what were your thoughts overall? By the way, one big plus is Saquon Barkley was really good again, getting 146 yards rushing last night.
If I'm Saquon Barkley, I am so frustrated over what running backs got paid, even though they said, Saquon Barkley got this wonderful contract. He got $37.5 million for 3 years, $26 million guaranteed. CD Lamb gets guaranteed more in 1 season than Saquon Barkley gets for 3. And Saquon Barkley is arguably the MVP this year. You can make a case for him for that. And so these running backs, it's bad. If I'm Saquon Barkley, if I got enough money, I'm in the mood to retire. I tell the Eagles at the end of the year, you give me a 1-year extension at a balloon payment, a big payment. I'm just not coming back, and really not come back, really retire. If he probably has enough money, we can do it, be secure the rest of his life now. But, I saw on First Take, I think it was First Take, one of the ESPN shows.
Yeah.
Who was that game more important to going in the Eagles or the Commanders? And that was a no-brainer. It was so much more important to the Eagles because unless the Commanders fall apart the rest of the year, their fan base is going to be satisfied with the season they had. They've taken the next step to respectability. But for the Eagle fan base, anything short of at least going to a Super Bowl has been a disappointing year. The Eagles could lose hypothetically in the NFL championship game to the Detroit Lions, and it could be a close game at Detroit, hypothetically, and their fan base will be calling for Nick Sirianni to get fired again. They'll be mad. They'll be saying what went wrong. And that's not the case with the Commanders. The Commanders can make the playoffs, get blown out in the first round, and their fans are going to be smiling. Oh, what a year we had.
Well, Dan Quinn's their coach. If they lose in the playoffs, they'll probably get ahead like 28-3 and then lose the game. But
well, Dan, what do you think of Dan Quinn's call yesterday, 4th and 2? They're down 12-10, a chance to kick a field goal, go up a point, go for it. The field goals are no short thing. I mean, as you can tell what happened with Philadelphia yesterday.
When these guys aren't slumping like the Philly kicker was yesterday, a lot of these guys are automatic from 50 in all the time. I'm taking a field goal there all day and going ahead. On the road, I'm going to take the field goal and get ahead. Then slow. I mean, the Eagles were already, and I think that's probably why Dan Quinn wanted to go for it. But the Eagles had started to get their offense in gear, and I think he wanted to keep the ball away from them. But it was not a good play call, number one, and then they botched it from the beginning. So in maybe it's hindsight, but I think I would have kicked the field goal there. And brings up a great point about the blocking for Barkley. He was untouched on both his touchdowns, and he could have had a third last night. He actually got pushed out at like the 1. He's trying hard to get the ball in the over the pylon, and he gets up kind of laughing and smiling because he knows he's not getting a touchdown now because Hirsch is going to get the touchdown from the 6-inch line. So it was, listen, the Eagles played really well in the fourth quarter. And just when you thought they were going into that mode, most of at least the first half, they looked like that team that lost 7 in a row last year. To me, they were really out of sorts and could not get it together. But in the fourth quarter fourth quarter specifically, they really did get it together. So much more important.
Wait. I'm looking at this comment by Danny Fuller. Come on. Talk about that. I'm sorry, Danny. You're being a selfish fan. Going into this season, if someone told you the Commanders, you're saying Redskins, okay, but the Commanders would go 9-8 and Jaden Daniels would show the promise of being a franchise quarterback. He would show he was a really good selection, which let's forget last night. He has shown he's a good selection. He is going to be the Commander franchise quarterback, and he'll be a good quarterback going forward. It's just a question of how good. You mean to tell me you wouldn't be satisfied with a 9-8 season and your, franchise quarterback that it turned out to be a really good draft pick?
Maybe
Come
not.
on. I mean, just because they win a few games in the beginning and they create a buzz, you don't give up on them. That creates an illusion what they did early on.
I think the question, and I'm surprised Danny's a Redskins fan, unless he followed Coach Allen.
1970. Wow, that's awesome.
He's out now.
He's in my territory going back a long way.
I assumed he was a Rams fan, I think, from my shows, but I could be. Danny has a very eclectic fandom, and I would say this to Danny and other
win season at least.
Yeah, to Danny and other Redskins fans, this question: if I asked you, or we asked him in August, would you be happy with the result you just said? 10-7. I think 9-8 might be a little disappointing now that we're 7.
No, in the beginning of the year. No, Keith. No. Before the season started, 9-8 would have been. I think the fan base would have been okay with that. Knowing Jaden Daniels was going to be, a good QB.
Yeah, I would think most Redskin fans would be happy with that result if you asked them in August. Now maybe
exactly
not good enough, but really
now expectations change.
Yeah.
I kind of realize that they're 7-4. They might still get to that if they go 4-2. They're 11-6, and maybe they win a playoff game. But whatever. But it meant more to Philadelphia yesterday. It means more to Philadelphia to win the division, a lot more than it means to the Commanders.
Well, given everything that went on there at the end of last year, this second half of this season is every game's going to be important to the Eagles. They need to finish strong, and they need to get back to a Super Bowl, or Sirianni may be gone. There may be some serious changes there if that same kind of situation happens again that happened last year. So much more important. What other big games we got this week in the NFL real quick, Jack? Anything else you're looking forward to in the NFL this week?
I'm certainly not looking for. I mean, my Jets are flattened out. I'm not really looking forward to. They're playing Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson is back as the QB for Indianapolis. I don't understand some of these teams. I understand you want to play a quarterback who gives you the best chance to win over a young quarterback. But the guy who's giving you the best chance to win, does he have any future for the team? Like Carolina going to Andy Dalton. I can understand that in a sense because Bryce Young was playing so poorly. You want to save Bryce Young, you know, and you don't want to torture yourself watching him after a while. Anthony Richardson needed a reset. These guys like Joe Flacco don't work out in the long term, who used to be good. They're long in the tooth. And we see that all the time. Mac was even saying, well, maybe sit down Aaron Rodgers for Tyrod Taylor. But Tyrod Taylor, give me a break. Maybe Tyrod Taylor would do a little better than Aaron Rodgers for 2-3 weeks. I'm not saying that wouldn't necessarily be the case, but you got no future if you're the Jets with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. And even the Giants now, they're sitting down Daniel Jones. For who? Tommy Cutlets? Are you kidding me? There's no future at quarterback for the Giants for Tommy Cutlets. He's a fan favorite. Keep him on the roster as your third stringer. I'm good with that. But that's about it. Play Daniel Jones the rest of the year, unless there's a thing with the insurance policy. If he gets hurt, they have to give him this or that. I don't know.
I mean, people talk about big games in a regular season in week 11? Kansas City and Buffalo this week is maybe the biggest game outside of maybe you could argue last night's game. But is this that important to either one of these teams, really?
Yeah, I think it is because when you're 9-0, you're like a pitcher, Keith, in baseball who has a perfect game with 2 outs in the 5th inning. You got a long way to go for the perfect game, but now, you know, you're thinking about it. You're probably thinking about it after 3 innings. I mean, in all honesty, but Kansas City's 9-0. Believe me, they're thinking in that building of running the table, you know, and that's a long table. Counting the playoffs, they'll need 11 straight wins, and I don't think they're that much of a juggernaut, you know, to do that. But they beat Buffalo. Traditionally, they've beaten Buffalo in the playoffs. They did it again last year. They beat them with 13 seconds to go on that famous, you know, thing when Buffalo kicked off into the end zone and gave Patrick Mahomes a little bit daylight. And we're also going to find out how good Buffalo is. I personally, Keith, don't think they're as good as advertised. I think Josh Allen's been phenomenal. And the Chiefs have always just gotten by this year. They've always found a way to win. They were fortunate against Denver. They blocked a field goal attempt on the last play of the game. I think Kansas City beats Buffalo at Buffalo, but it's a statement game.
Yeah.
Because if Buffalo wins, that tells me they're for real. They're a legitimate Super Bowl threat. If the Chiefs spank them, the Chiefs, you know, basically is showing why they're the champs.
I agree to a certain extent, except Buffalo, to me, their statement game is going to be beating the Chiefs in the playoffs, which they've never done, and they haven't been able to get over that hump. To me, the game's probably more important to the Buffalo, yes, than the Chiefs, but I don't think it's in the long run it means that much to beat this team now. And as far as Kansas City and the way they're winning games, good teams find ways to win games. That's how winning teams. They find a way.
Well, there's a small element involved, too. Buffalo's lost, what, 2 games? I think.
Yes, 2.
Okay, Chiefs haven't lost. So hypothetically, if Buffalo wins, they're 1 game behind Kansas City. And talk about home field advantage if they do meet in the playoffs, meaning if they have the same record at the end of the year and Buffalo can make up 1 extra game after this Sunday, they would have home field over the Chiefs. But keep in mind, the Ravens would have home field over Buffalo because they beat them. When I mean a statement game, the Ravens made a statement when they trounced Buffalo. Call it an off game for Buffalo. But if Buffalo wants to show they belong with the big boys as a serious threat to go to the Super Bowl, You can't lose decisively to the Ravens. And then if they turn around and lose decisively to the Chiefs, what does that tell you about Buffalo?
It would tell me they're not what I think people think they are.
It's a state. That's what I mean. It's a statement game. And if they hand the Chiefs a defeat, they make a statement that they're serious Super Bowl contenders.
Is there a team that I guess a couple things, surprises and disappointments? Of the surprise teams, which one do you think is like most likely to hang in there and continue to do well? Say the Redskins again. I'll still say they're a surprise. I know Danny said he thought that they'd win 10 all the way through. And besides that, is there any disappointing teams you think are going to come back? I don't think. We talked about it Wednesday night. I don't know why people think the Dolphins are going to have this resurgence and win 10 in a row and make the playoffs.
I actually think the Dolphins are going to go on a bit of a run. They're playing the Raiders this week. They're playing in Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, if they lose to the Raiders, that would be pathetic. They should win that game. That'll give them 2 wins in a row. Tua should play a very good game. Tua's back. So all of a sudden, the Dolphins will have, maybe a resurgence. But the problem with some of these teams, the first half, all those losses, they left it really too late. I mean, a team like Cincinnati might play really well the rest of the year, but making the playoffs are going to be difficult. If they sneak in, they're dangerous. The one year that Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, people forget they barely got into the playoffs at the end. They got off to a bad start. And once you're in the playoffs, you have a clean slate. It doesn't matter like what you did early in the year. I don't know about any of these weak teams having a resurgence, but I think the games count. I think you're playing for something. Like, even they asked Aaron Rodgers, well, are you coming back next year? His answer should have been, we've got 7 games left. They mean something. And it could be an illusion, but if you win 5 of your last 7, you're feeling better about yourself, at least.
Oh, the teams in the AFC the AFC that I think are disappointments, say Miami, the Jets, and the Bengals, to me would fit that best. I think the Bengals got the best shot at recovering just because they've got offense. Miami scored 147 points the entire year. Now, I know Tua missed a lot of time, but if Tua keeps diving head first at guys running back interceptions, he's not going to be in there very long.
Who's under more risk, Keith, Tua, Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson fighting a Tua playing football.
I think it's
debatable.
Yeah, because every single play he's out there at risk every time he's on the field. So, surprise teams in the AFC. The one that I would really pick out is the Chargers. Will they continue? They're 6-3 in the playoffs if they were to start now, which of course they don't. But this team's given up only 118 points the entire season. I did not expect this defense to be this good.
I credit Jim Harbaugh coming to the Chargers. He's been a major difference maker. It kind of makes me wonder, and you could answer this better than I can. When he first went to Michigan, they struggled a bit, right?
They did a bit. They didn't. He lost Ohio State a bunch of times before he.
And you would think Jim Harbaugh would have worked his magic and beaten Ohio State sooner than he did. But look at the job he's doing with the Chargers, 6-3. Playing close to the vest. Justin Herbert hasn't been sensational, but he's been good with the game plan, running the ball a lot and stingy defense. And it's easy to forget what a good coach he was when he was with the 49ers and with Michigan. And now with the Chargers, he's been a difference maker.
He's a very polarizing figure. People love him or people hate him. But what I keep saying is, as a coach, he wins everywhere he goes. He went to Diego College, which was nobody, and did really well. Turned around a Stanford program that was pretty much dormant at the time. Almost got them into a college football playoff. Went to the 49ers and got to a Super Bowl with a tricked up offense and a quarterback who was no good, by the way, only to lose to his brother. And goes to Michigan, and it took him a little more time, as you said, but he turned that around and won a national championship and beat Ohio State the couple times he played them. So this guy wins wherever he goes. So this shouldn't be
Harbaugh's been the most successful family members in coaching history. Think about it. They're certainly better than the Ryans, okay?
Yes, considerably. I
But
can't
has there been a coaching family? You know, it could be even a grandson, you know. One of the Shulers is, you know, Shulers have been, you know, Don Shuler's son, grandson, you know.
haven't had a lot of success.
Coordinators, good, yeah. I mean, you look at John Harbaugh, he's lasted as long as he has with the Ravens. He's kind of a legacy coach that slips under the radar.
Great coach.
Yeah.
Great coach. In the NFC, I mean, I think the Vikings are a bit of a surprise, and I think they're here to stay. Even I was not a fan. I know that you spoke up for Sam Darnold before the year, and I was not a believer, so I got to take a hit there. I'm
not sure. I thought he was in the right situation. I'm not sure with Sam Darnold what's going to be going forward. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback. I'm not getting carried away. At the end of the season, I don't think he's going to be a Viking next season. Sunday's going to be revealing. They're playing at Tennessee. If the Vikings lose to Tennessee and Darnold struggles, the wheels have come off the good feel story. It's very important he reestablishes himself. Beating Jacksonville last week, 12-7, throwing 3 interceptions. He played a really poor game, but they won. And they're committed to J.J. McCarthy, you know, to be their start at some point. The only way that wasn't going to happen if Darnold was really going to light it up. You would have had to have a situation, and even that wouldn't have worked. Remember Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Chargers draft Phillip Rivers, you know, 4th overall. Really number 1 they had to pick, but call him the 4th overall pick.
Right.
But then Drew Brees turns in a great year, but Drew Brees hurts his shoulder, so that made the decision easier. Had Drew Brees not gotten hurt, would they have traded Drew Brees and moved on to Phillip Rivers? I still think they would have, but that would have been a massive problem.
It's funny you bring up Drew Brees with that injury. I remember when Nick Saban was coaching the Dolphins, he wanted them to sign Drew Brees and not Dante Culpepper. Imagine if they signed Drew Brees, how much different NFL history and college football history could be if he'd actually signed with the Dolphins and Nick Saban. What if?
Yeah. There's so many what ifs, like who you want to draft, who you don't want to draft.
Yeah.
I mean, how would it have played out had Peyton Manning, when he was eligible to come out of the draft, the Jets had him set with the number 1 pick, and he didn't go to the Jets. He stayed at Tennessee 1 more year, which would have been a good move because he would have had Bill Parcells as his coach getting on his case, and he would have had the New York media. He wouldn't have won a Super Bowl with the Jets. And he would have been a polarizing personality, and I think he would have been sensitive, you know, to all the media attention. Unlike Eli, who just lets things roll off. Nothing bothers Eli, at least visibly.
Interesting. Finishing up the NFC real quick. The Cardinals were a bit of a surprise, but I wonder if it's because 3 of the bigger disappointments are the 49ers and the Seahawks and the Rams. The teams that are disappointments, I think the 49ers are most likely to rebound. As they get healthy, I think they will become a force again in the NFC. And I think them and the Lions are still the favorites.
Team I picked to win the Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers. Look out for them. They're not, if the playoffs started today,
they're in.
Okay, I don't think they get there. They'd be in the playoffs, of course. I think by the end of the season, that's what counts. Who's playing best at the end of the season? And something about the Packer team, I think they're going to peak at the end of the year. And I could see them in Detroit, perhaps in the NFC Championship game, and them going into Detroit and actually winning there, the way they did Thanksgiving last year.
Let me before we move on, and we're going to talk a little, I want to get into college football and do my picks as Mac would ask me. But a couple of comments I want to run down. Danny had made this comment about he expected a 10-win season. Danny, I want you to, when I start the 9 o'clock show, we do the 5-minute rant today. You need to get on, and I need you to go through and tell me exactly why you thought that. You can rip me about my Yankees takes as well if you like. But please get in. And Danny loves seeing me read that. Joe Flacco's become part of the DNA of football talk. It's hard to believe, but Unfortunately, Mercury Morris won't be around to pop the
Oh, please, Richard. I got sick of those Dolphins celebrating when the team would lose. You want to know the truth of the matter? New England won more games in a row than the Dolphins won because they had the three, they had 2 extra games on their schedule. So and the Dolphins won their 3 playoff games, including the 2 playoff games in the Super Bowl by a combined total of 17 points.
Yeah,
so don't tell me they were the greatest team. The Chicago Bear team that lost 1 game that year would have, beaten the Dolphins by a couple of TDs in the, had they played them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we didn't win the one that counted. That's the problem. But what are you going to do? That's the one that mattered. My disappointing team is the Giants. I did make a very bad selection of the Giants, and Danny will not let me forget it.
Your worst moment, Keith, was saying that Will Levis was, you had him going to the Hall of Fame or something, Will Levis.
Oh, I didn't. I said he would be the best quarterback of that class, and it's
Will Levis is being given one last chance to show he's a starter the rest of the year with Tennessee. He's auditioning. Certain quarterbacks auditioning. Once in a while, you get a quarterback that's a career backup that, like a Geno Smith, doesn't quite live up to his potential, who has a resurgence, but that's an exception to the rule.
I did leave out the Cowgirls here, by the way. We'll see about Will Levis, by the way. I'm going to let that go for now. The Cowboys have been very disappointing, as we know. Philip Rivers said Chargers. Now you get good. It's about it. We're back to Jake Paul. About isn't fixed. Jake
Paul is not under more risk than Tyson. Jake Paul is 30 years younger than Mike Tyson. Okay. So when you get hit when you're 27, 28 years old, it's a big difference from getting hit when you're 58 years old. Okay. Yeah. Physically speaking, anatomy, the makeup. This isn't like a game. This isn't like the NBA where they're just bumping one another. I mean, guys are getting hit in the head. This is serious business. And if Tyson does beat Jake Paul, it's not because he's going to dominate him. It's because he's going to hit him with a flurry of punches and knock him out. So Jake Paul is less likely to get hurt that way than take cumulative punishment. And at Tyson's age, to get beat up and be standing and taking punches, it's a dangerous thing. It's scary.
Agree 100%. Chargers are the flippers of the NBA. We know that. John Gonzalez. I'm not seeing John Gonzalez for the sports authorities, but good morning, John, if you're here. JJ McCarthy had another procedure on his knee. Not good news for the White.
2 of them.
Yeah.
What's the deal there? I mean, that's alarming. 2 procedures on the knee, and
concerned, and they probably obviously they're hoping Darnold can extend this a little bit. Did throw 3 interceptions last week, by the way, in that victory.
Well, JJ McCarthy's out this year no matter what. So it's
I meant going forward in the next year.
Will he sign a 1-year deal, Darnold? Let's see what Darnold does the rest of the year. If the Tennessee Titans beat Minnesota this Sunday, I think the honeymoon with Darnold is basically over. Even though they're going to stick with them, and Kevin O'Connell is a good coach, very understanding the way he'll continue to work with Darnold. But I think the Darnold story that was so wonderful kind of would have lost its shine if they lose Sunday to the Titans of all people.
Great point. And Danny Danny talks about people, experts even making mistakes. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries, one of the great stories for sure. Debo took a swing at a special teams player, is a bad look. Stuff happens in practices and whatnot. The Miami team wasn't even favored in the Super Bowl. Great point, Danny. I remember that very well. Had Mike Bass from that Super Bowl, the guy who ran back the Gary Premium pass for the Redskins' only touchdown. I had him for an interview here a couple of months ago. He's a great guy. And 14-ounce gloves benefit Paul. I don't know. Jack, you can speak to that. I can't.
I don't know. I don't know what to make out of this fight. I don't know whether it's completely real or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel it is, but I have some doubts because Jake Paul is the most abrasive, rude guy beforehand and after the fight. No, not that he's a bad person. That's just his personality as far as sport goes. And his level of either his level of respect for Mike Tyson is off the charts, that he likes Tyson so much, or it's something is prearranged. Maybe he's agreeing to ease up a little on Tyson. Maybe Tyson's saying, I'm too old for this. I don't know. It reminds me, Keith, when Andre the Giant was going against Hulk Hogan, we didn't know how it was going to end. That's what everyone was talking about. They said it was going to end controversially, but it didn't end controversially.
But there was a script. There was a script for that fight.
Yeah.
Right. That's a little bit, we hope that's a little bit different, but we don't really know, do we?
Speaking of Netflix, Dad, did you watch the WWE thing on Mr. McMahon, on Vince McMahon?
Watched it. I plan to. I haven't saved in my favorites. I haven't seen it yet.
Where they talked about the Montreal screw job with Bret the Hitman Hart. You know, it was kind of, now that Bret Hart had no idea he was getting ambushed. And when I watched WrestleMania, I knew exactly what was happening. He didn't submit. That McMahon had the bell rung.
A lot of there. Listen, all you guys with these great takes here, make sure when we get out at 9 o'clock, I want every one of you guys to click the link and come in the studio and bring your opinions to the show today. A little shameless plug for the 9 o'clock show. Anyway, Jack, did you really go to wrestling? Listen,
I used to be into it. I used to be. I have a connection.
Yeah.
With the New York State Athletic Commission, where they let myself and my daughters, who were young at the time, go backstage. And it was like fantasy land. We would be hanging backstage and take a peek in the dressing room. And I remember my daughter says to me, Dad, look, the Undertaker, he's drinking coffee. Awesome. Like she didn't think this mythical figure would actually drink coffee.
Yeah. We used to, when I was younger in my 20s, we used to they used to come up here a lot in the Albany area, go to Glens Falls and Albany and all around. And we followed them around. We had a lot of fun. We'd get, we didn't party beforehand. And so
I was backstage for this wrestling federation where I saw them prearrange the outcomes. And I was amazed that you'd think the blood always would come from ketchup or something. These dudes, Keith, allowed themselves to be cut with a razor. For real. That is insane. How ridiculous is that? You're allowing them to cut you with a razor on the forehead?
I watched the documentary on Jimmy Superfly Snuka, if you remember, from Fiji, and they showed what he would do. His whole head was all just scarred up from it.
Oh, man.
Crazy.
And let me tell you, too, one of those wrestlers, when I went, was getting hit on the head with a chair by his opponent. And then I'm in the dressing room backstage talking to someone, and the guy who got hit on the head comes over with the funniest look to join the conversation, and he's in a daze. How can you let yourself get hit with a darn chair right on the head?
By the way, this show.
Wrestling is real as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to hear anything that's fake. These guys are great athletes, and the stuff that they put themselves through.
This show might get Mac out of the hospital and back behind the mic faster than ever. We've talked about boxing at the beginning, wrestling for too long.
Yeah. No offense, Keith, but we need Mac to stabilize this show. I didn't realize how much Max, and now I realize Max stops me from going off the rails. You've had a hard time doing it. I'm building momentum with this.
This is
out of the box stuff. Mac usually puts a stop to it.
Very quickly, let's pivot to college football. I want to give my picks, which are sponsored by betus.com. You can check that out. You can go to the Northeast Streaming. Not Northeast Streaming Sports, National Streaming Sports website. And I don't have the barcode, which I will get to put up if I have to do this again. But college football, we're getting to an exciting time right now. And I'll do this very quickly so we can pivot and just do a little bit of baseball before we go, hopefully. Both teams still control their own destiny as best I can figure it going into this week 10 or 11. Two regular season games, 3 for some left, plus the conference championships. 12 teams control their own destiny. Very exciting football. Couple of games this weekend are huge. Tennessee goes to Georgia. Georgia's on its last stand. They don't win this week, they're going to be out. They're out right now. as it stands today. A lot can change in the next three polls, though. Georgia's an 11.5-point favorite at home. That's a lot. This is a good Tennessee team. Georgia might pull this game out, but they're not covering 11.5. I think Tennessee wins the game outright. Utah goes to Colorado. Colorado's giving up 11. Might seem like a lot. Another place I've had to do a mea culpa is on Colorado and Deion Sanders. I had them 5-7. They control their own destiny. If they win out, they're in the playoff. I like Colorado to win this game. It'll probably be an over bet for me, but I'll take them minus the 11. And Clemson and Pittsburgh, two teams hanging on by a thread in the ACC. Clemson's going to Pitt, where they are an 11-point favorite on the road. Clemson's been very up and down. Pitt has not looked good these last couple of weeks. This is going to be an interesting game. I'm going to go against my gut, and I'm going to lay the 11 on the road here and take Clemson in this game. So just a quick college picks sponsored by BetUS. I know Mac wants to get that in, so we made sure that we did that. Quickly, we only got a few minutes left, Jack, but baseball is still kind of ramping up the offseason. We haven't had much go on except the Angels still not knowing how to build a roster as they bring in every washed-up ball player.
Travis Dunn, the catch, 2 years, $12 million total. That's an okay contract. It's not a tremendous amount of money. Veteran catcher. It's the free agent watch, and it's very intriguing. Everyone's looking at what's going on with Soto and us liking the Yankees. What's going to be with Soto? You can't replace Soto, okay, in the Yankee lineup, unfortunately. He was so valuable. If you don't have Soto's bat, you're going to suffer. Yeah. I understand the Billy Bean philosophy with the A's. Well, you recreate them. You get a number of different guys. And I've always liked Anthony Santander, but he doesn't get on base a lot. He's better defensively than people make him out to be, a lot better. And he's got power, hits home runs. But this is Soto's bat. It kept things going. And, who are you really going to get? You could focus on the starting pitching and then on the bullpen. There's good pitching out on the market. But once again, once you sign a guy, a big money free agent before you sign Soto or try to make your final offer to Soto, the money's not there. If you sign Corbin Burns, the money's not there. You sign Max Fried, the money's not there. Okay, Jack Flaherty, you'd pay him a little less, but still he'd be getting good money. If I'm the Yankees, I come up with my drop-dead offer to Soto, an enormous, no-nonsense offer, and say, look, if you want to stretch this out for weeks, we're not there. And put it on Soto's lap. Give him an offer where he knows he's not going to get that much more elsewhere. I could get a little more elsewhere maybe, but is it worth it?
You and I are on the same page there. I hope to see things kick in. We got the traditional winter meetings will start December 8th through the 12th. Hopefully we'll get some moves. I think there's going to be more trades this year than we might normally see because I don't think the free agent class is that deep and really good talent. I think at the top it's pretty good, but I don't think throughout there's a lot of great players as you get past the top 8 or so.
But there's so many holes that teams have to fill. Yeah. We talk about the Yankees. They're going to have one infield hole. Gleyber Torres will be gone. They can move Chas over to second base, but they didn't have to address third base. And Alex Bregman isn't worth the free agent money that they're going to give him. If Soto leaves, they're going to have to address a couple of outfield positions.
Yeah.
Okay, as Alex Badeo isn't going to be there next year. And they have to address, the bullpen. And it's a lot of things have to fill up.
Well, more for us to talk about. If we should have to do this again next week, we'll concentrate some more on baseball for sure. Jack, I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun today. And we'll do this again, and hopefully Mac's doing well, and Mac's back in his seat next week. And if we have to jump in, we certainly will. And
thinking of you, Mac.
Yes, absolutely thinking of you, Mac, and you, Linda, and thank you all for tuning in and commenting. And I'm going to jump real quick and do my show here at 9 o'clock. So, guys, have a great day. The Mac and Jack Show with myself filling in for Mac today. Have a great Friday. See you Sunday morning, guys.